Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Channel Shadow Moses. I just saw Let There Be Carnage this weekend, the Venom movie, and I really liked it. A lot more than I thought I was going to, especially since the first Venom was iffy. I go back on that movie a lot, so I just kind of wanted to talk about this movie for a second. And I know I haven't done a Marvel and DC video in a while. It's been more anime based, and I'll get back to that as well. But this movie I liked quite a bit. So this won't be a very long review. I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the things that I liked, some of the things I didn't like, some of the things that didn't really work for me, and kind of where it's going from here. And it won't be really spoilery. If I do get into spoiler territory for that second or two, I'll give a warning. But first off, I really wanted to say one of the things I like about this movie is that the fight scenes in this movie were just really clear, especially in the last fight. I thought that in the very first Venom movie, as much fun as that movie was just because I love Venom the character, a lot of the fight scenes, they were just dark or blurry, or the camera was just moving so fast you couldn't really see what was happening, especially with the last fight in the first Venom movie and when he fights the cops, when they kept shooting all the smoke screen at him and everything. It wasn't great because you didn't get to see what you really wanted. But in this movie, the fight scenes are clear. The last fight was really good. I thought the choreography and the action scenes were very good. And it's funny, one of my favorite things in this movie as well, and I think a lot of people probably agree with me, is just Eddie Brock and Venom are just such a great pair. And I think that's what really carried the first movie. The first movie was good if you liked Venom, and if you didn't really like Venom, I don't really think it's that great of a movie. I don't think you'll really enjoy it. But the great thing about that movie was just their dialogue, just them arguing back and forth. Like Eddie Brock or Tom Hardy, it seems like he's having a great time playing the role. And that's kind of how I felt in this one. There are times where they're bickering and fighting and all of it's funny. It doesn't feel like overbearing or like this plot device. It all feels organic. It feels real. And it's just a delight. Venom's character, Venom's dialogue was very fun. I think he's a bit more whimsical in the movies than he is in the comics. But one of my favorite things that it does is it really shows how crazy Venom is driving Eddie Brock. And the comics do a great job of depicting that, because in the comics, while he doesn't necessarily drive Eddie crazy because he's like needy like he does in the movie, he drives him crazy just because there's a constant voice in his head that's not his, an alien voice giving him all these urges, and he has to learn to live with them. And I think Let There Be Carnage does a much better job of depicting things like that. I really loved seeing Eddie suffer with Venom. I thought it was I think it's actually probably the best part of the entire movie. And then you have Woody Harrelson, which is playing Celtis, or Carnage's alter ego, or however you want to say it. The movie pretty much takes place about a year or a few months later after the post-credits scene. And Tom Hardy's been interviewing Cassidy, or Woody Harrelson, or whatever you want to call it. And he's been his go-to reporter to leak whatever information that he wants to get out there to the world. I didn't really have a problem with Woody Harrelson's performance as Carnage and Cassidy. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was bad or anything. I know a lot of people have this thing about him where they don't feel like he's the right person for a lot of the roles they keep giving him, but I thought it was fine. If anything, I guess I kind of had an issue with some of his motivations. I know in the comics it's a bit different, and I haven't read the origin of Carnage. I read a lot of Carnage, Absolute Carnage. I read a lot of his comic books, but I mean, the big thing about Carnage is that he's supposed to not like anyone. He's supposed to not have feelings for anyone. But there is a love interest, but I won't really get much into it because that kind of bleeds into the spoiler territory. But for the world the movie builds around him, I think it works okay. It's very believable what's happening. Another thing that this movie has going for it over its predecessor is that its side characters get to at least do something, and they get to do more. They get to be more involved in the movie. In the first movie, his ex-fiance and her husband or fiance, they just kind of do stuff. They're just there for kind of comedic relief. In this one, they actually help out a bit. I like seeing things like that. And not all the jokes landed, especially between the love triangle that's happening there, but I thought it was alright. I mean, not all the jokes are going to land for me, especially with these Marvel movies, but for what I saw, I still laughed at a good majority of them. So I give it a pass. It's pretty subjective. But that's pretty much about what I liked about the movie. I mean, I thought the plot was good. It was believable. I thought the characters had great synergy, not just Venom and Eddie Brock, which had the most and the best synergy, but even between some of the side characters as well. I think a lot of the humor definitely hit its mark as opposed to the first movie. And here's some of the things I didn't care for. One of my biggest gripes in movies is convenience. Just convenience for the sake of convenience. Like if you're looking for someone in New York City and then a bad guy just happens to spot you, it's like, how do they find you in a city at night? Kind of things like that. A lot of things just kind of magically falls in place for Eddie Brock just to move the plot forward. He's investigating. The first spot he investigates just kind of moves the plot forward. Things like that. The movie has a lot of that. And I don't know, it just hits me wrong. I know a lot of people tend not to care about those kind of things, but it feels like there's a way to write that in the script better and more organically, especially in a 2-hour movie. I would say my biggest issue with this movie, by far, easily, is its rating. This movie is PG-13, and I get it. R-rated movies do not sell as much as PG-13 movies. Not every movie is going to be Deadpool, but it's hard enough to swallow Venom being PG-13, but Carnage 2, it's a little jarring. I would probably go out on a limb and say Carnage is Marvel's most sadistic villain or just person, period. He is a serial killer without remorse. One of the reasons he can stomach Carnage is that he has no remorse. Many comics really drive that home, whereas you have some evil villains or some evil anti-heroes, but there is still good in them, or they care about something. Carnage's big thing in the comics that he does not care. He will kill anyone, kill anything. Men, women, children, does not matter. He is a mass serial killer. And giving him weapons like a symbiote suit that can make knives and axes and make it all bloodless, it's unfortunate. And maybe only someone that knows Carnage well or from comics, maybe it only kind of triggers us, but I don't know, it just didn't hit me right. But at the end of the day, I just enjoyed the movie. I liked it a lot. The performances were all good. There was no bad performance. All the fights were entertaining. I didn't really see a bad fight, and for the most part, the jokes landed. When they wanted you to laugh, you were laughing or chuckling or smirking. For the most part, like I said, there's only about a couple or 3 jokes that didn't really land for me, but Venom being Venom, them just letting Eddie and Venom banter and really just have fun with the role is where the movie's at. That's where the gold is. If you saw the first Venom movie and you loved him jumping into a lobster tank and just eating the lobster and just Venom and Eddie Brock just doing whatever they're doing, then you'll like this movie. It's that, but improved with the story pacing is much better. It does not slow to a halt in random spots like the first movie. The fighting is much better. It's bright, it's vibrant. You can see what's going on. It lasts longer. The characters, the performances, I think everything is just better and superior in this movie. That being said, I'm going to give a spoiler warning for the end of the movie, because I can't really do a review about this movie without saying what everyone's thinking. And that is just me going to fanboy out for the next 60 seconds. Guys, Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel superhero. Is it my favorite superhero? No, but Marvel, yes, and that's what we're talking about right now. And they finally did it. They found a way to put a good Venom in a Spider-Man universe or vice versa or whatever. I don't care. They're going to be on the screen together. Sony and Marvel are finally doing what we've been asking for. At the end of the movie, it shows a kind of, I don't know, lapse in the multiverse something. I'm not sure if that's because of Loki TV or Spider-Man, probably because of Far From Home, what they did in that movie. But it shows them looking at the announcement that happened at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home of J. Jonah Jameson as revealing Spider-Man's identity as Peter Parker, Tom Holland. Not that that's a huge one. I think it was going to be pretty obvious. My thought was either going to be null or this. This is what I thought was going to happen. Null is a comic book thing, doesn't matter. But I am so excited. This is probably the most excited I've been for a Marvel movie since like Endgame. This new Spider-Man movie is going to be so bonkers. I can't wait. I just want nothing but craziness to happen. And I'm so excited for it. This is the most excited I've been in a very long time. So, at the end of the day, like I said, I love this Venom movie. It was really good, better than the original. If you like the first one, you'll love the second one. If you're lukewarm about this first one, you'll probably still enjoy the second one. But if you hated everything about the first one, you probably won't like this movie because it just does what the first one does, but better. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. That was my just quick review before I go to bed here at 3 a.m. for this Spider-Man or Venom movie. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.